Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Ben Joravsky Show. Ben is currently grabbing some water. Oh, here he comes. Listen to this guy stamp up the steps. Listen to that. Oh my goodness. Before we get going here, we want to... Ben, we're live, by the way. Are you there? Hello? Ben? Hello? Ben?
I'm here.
All right, we're live, pal. All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I figured, throw a little curveball at you. You know what I mean?
Take a letter, Maria.
Okay, sure. Whatever that means. Before we get going, we want to remind everybody that we are going... Take a letter, Maria. We're going to be switching over to the Chicago Reader YouTube channel at the beginning of the month. All right, we're behind the scenes, wheeling and dealing. I'm talking with the people at the Reader, and we're transitioning once again to the Chicago Reader YouTube only at the beginning of the month. So everybody on the live stream chat, we're going to try and transition over to that Reader YouTube. We got some ideas for that as well, so be listening for that. Okay, your Ben Joravsky Show for Tuesday, November 24th is just moments away. But before we get into this, we got to thank our sponsors. Sponsors like the Chicago Reader. Yes, chicagoreader.com. Fantastic website, great publication to find out what is going on in the city of Chicago. Check out the Chicago Reader and subscribe. Great way to help out this program is to subscribe, by the way. Also, today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. All right, Ben. Well, it's a day ending in Y, so yes, you have a song of the day today.
Okay.
And that song of the day comes from Frank. Three Dog Night, Joy to the World.
Oh, one of Dennis's favorite songs.
Maybe actually.
Yeah, he loves this song. I believe it starts. Jeremiah was a bull. Is it a bulldog or a bullfrog?
Bullfrog. Bullfrog. Frog. The word we're looking for is frog.
Joy to the world. Oh, wow, wow. Yeah, boys and girls.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite songs, too. Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
The Ben Joravsky Show starts now. It is Tuesday, November 24th, and live from my apartment and his attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, in these times, writer Miles Kampf-Lassin. Go Dolphins! And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Trump Surrenders Tuesday. And here's why. Good weekend. You have a good weekend, D?
Yes, I did. It was pretty good.
That's what I want.
What
I want to hear. It wasn't
Decent.
bad. Decent.
I mean, that's my phone. All right, well.
Oh, wow.
My week, on the other hand.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I did. You saw this. I built a fire in the fire pit. My wife bought a fire pit. Love that fire. It was burning bright. Caroling through the night. That's a song. Anyway, it doesn't matter what song that is. But
I mean, that was a song.
It was a song. Just thinking of the burning bright fire pit made me think of that song, the great Donny Hathaway. Watched a movie called Run. It was on Hulu. A little embarrassed by how much I liked Run, so let's just move on. But good action flick on Hulu. Anyway, I woke up to discover that President Donald Trump had surrendered, sort of. He still hasn't officially conceded the election to Joe Biden, even though he's losing by, 7 million votes, something like that. I haven't looked in a while. I know Biden's close to 80 million votes. And he still hasn't conceded, even though he's lost as many electoral college votes as Hillary did in 2016. So if that was a Trump landslide, then I guess this is a Biden landslide. Still hasn't conceded, even though a judge in Pennsylvania savaged his lawsuit. made fun of it, mocked it, threw it out basically. And even though he still hasn't conceded, even though his one batshit crazy lawyer, Sidney Powell, was so nutty that even Rudy Giuliani couldn't take her anymore. That's crazy. Still hasn't conceded, even though officials in Michigan certified that election, resisting his appeals, which I don't know, man. That's got to be illegal. It's like calling the jury in the middle of deliberations. Can you imagine if OJ did that? Hi, I'm OJ. I'm really innocent. Find me innocent. So, yeah, Donnie's not conceding. But he did give the okay to some bureaucrat named Emily W. Murphy to allow the transition to proceed. Now, folks, I have to make a confession. As much as I follow politics, and I follow it very closely, until now, I had never heard of Emily W. Murphy. I never heard of the office she holds, which is Administrator of General Service Administrations. And I did not realize that the person who holds that office had to sign off to officially okay a transition. I mean, it just was never an issue in all these years where incumbent presidents have lost. I just never recall the issue of will the Emily Murphys of the world sign off on the official transition. It just sort of happened. We're learning a lot about government, in part because Donald's trying to destroy it. But I know when Donald Trump gave Murphy the green light to officially sign off on the transition, it was one of his attempts to look all presidential. Every now and then he tries to look presidential, then it's back to the gutter. No sooner said than I got an email. I'm still getting emails on a regular basis, probably an hour a day from Trump's campaign, fundraising requests. I'll read you the latest I got. Quote, "This is it. We are fighting for the future of the country. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would destroys in all caps, everything President Trump has accomplished. They have vowed to turn America into a big government socialist nation. Will you have the corrupt Democrats try to steal this election and impart their radical agenda on our country? Or will you stand up and defend your country? Contribute $45 immediately to defend the election from the radical left's agenda, and you can increase your impact by 1,000%. He still has that at the end. I'm not quite sure what that even means. I've been thinking about this all day, all night. I take walks. What does he mean by that? You know, it's not like he's promising to match it. Just throws that out there.
No collusion.
Yes, thanks, Don. And then there's a big picture of Donald Trump walking through the White House looking kind of grumpy and bossy. He's still shaking people down, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm wondering, where will that money go? Where will it actually go? I mean, the election's over, so there's really no election for Donald Trump to defend. By giving the green light to Emily Murphy, he's essentially conceding, even if he's officially hasn't conceded. I'll tell you this, I'm sure it's not going to Rudy Giuliani to pay those legal bills. There goes NBC, and usually I don't trust stories without named sources. But then on Sunday, Chris Christie went on the George Stephanopoulos show and called the president's legal team, quote, a national embarrassment. And I can't believe that Chris Christie would make a critical comment like that without running it by Trump. This is getting to look like some kind of antics of third graders in the cafeteria. There's like one mean girl in charge, that would be Donald Trump, and all the other mean girls want his approval. And so, like, Chris Christie's talking to Donald Trump, oh, Rudy's so bad, and Donald Trump, he's making me look bad. And Chris, I know what, boss, I'll go on TV and trash him. Okay, you do that. So he goes to national TV and trashes him. Probably called Trump up as soon as it was over to say, you like that, boss? You like that? You know, I never said this before, D, but I'm sort of going to miss Trump administration. Kind of Is this for real? Joe Biden going to put Rahm Emanuel in his cabinet? I know Miles has a lot to say about that. The AOC just tweeted out. Thank you, Frank, for sending this to me. AOC just tweeted out. First, Rahm wanted to be the transportation secretary. Then everybody rebelled against that. So then Rahm has Cranes put out that he's really looking for to become like the trade ambassador, person in charge of trades. It's like, you don't get it, Rahm. People don't want you anywhere near the White House. Doesn't matter what the position is. You could be the doorman. They still don't want you in charge of anything. So we'll get Miles on and see what he has to say about that. I know he has a lot to say about that. Plenty of political talk ahead with Miles Kampf-Lassin. But before we do that, young man from home, the man that Rahm Emanuel fondly calls Dr. D, with the news.
Ben, I think I need to call you right back. I'm having a little technical issue here. For some reason, you dropped out of audio, so I'm going to call you right back, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. Ben Joravsky, are you there? Hello, Ben. No audio, Ben.
No collusion. No collusion. No collusion. No collusion.
me? Yep, I can hear you. All right. All right, Dr. D, can you hear me? Yeah. I'm going to hang up the phone. All right. Okay, cool. All right, Dr. D, can you hear me?
I'm here. Are you there?
Yes. That was, I don't know what I did.
I think that was on my end, actually. So.
Oh, look at that, Mr. Millennial. Okay. All right. Next, you've been hanging around me too long, man.
Yeah, it's had a funky little setting there. So I think we're good to go. Let us know if you can hear us live stream chat. Ben, I think you were talking about Giuliani and his hair.
Man, that was so freaky, ladies and gentlemen. All of a sudden, I'm talking, and I'm saying great things, just brilliant insights, as I'm known to do, and no one can hear me.
Well, maybe they guys, can you hear Ben? Do we still have people? Okay, Brianna says back. Yay!
All right.
You know, that was a little listener devotion test I had there, just to see who's really devoted to this show. All right, will you stick with us even if crap just goes out, huh? Brianna, you passed the test. You passed the test, Brianna. Congratulations.
God bless you, Brianna.
Learned something new about Google Meet today. That's great.
Yeah, so I have no idea where I was when it went down. Something about Giuliani's hair. I was leaking hair, and it was probably the part of the story where I was saying Donald Trump turned on Giuliani when he saw his leaking hair. That's probably when the microphone went down. Point is this, folks. I'll just wing it and improv it and close it down by saying this. There is trouble in paradise, and I know this because Chris Christie went on the George Stephanopoulos show and ripped the legal team for Donald Trump, and I do not believe that Christie would have done something like that without running it past Trump, and that Trump approved it, and they're just like, oh, pack of thieves and rats. Michael Cohen warned us about this, by the way. He said you can't trust Donald Trump at all. He's going to turn on you. If you dedicate your life to him, it's going to be a life of ruin for you. Giuliani's finding that out right now. Watch now, Giuliani's on the phone. Donnie, I like you way more than Chris Christie ever did. They're all sucking up to Donnie.
That's a decent
Donald
Giuliani
Trump.
impression. So.
I didn't even realize I was doing a Giuliani.
Oh, that's even better.
Anyway, we have a great show today, ladies and gentlemen. Miles Kampf-Lassin will be with us. The pride and joy of Whitney Young High School, the ace writer, editor for In These Times. He's got a lot to say about a lot of different things, including Rahm Emanuel. That's on his mind, Rahm Emanuel. Very much wants to be in the Biden cabinet. Or more important, I think Rahm just wants people to think that he's being considered for the Biden cabinet. So if you know, he put out his name for transportation, leaked it to the Tribune. Tribune ran with it. They're thinking about putting Rahm in transportation. Lefties go nuts, and why shouldn't they? Rahm hates lefties. He hates us. Oh my God, he hates lefties more than Trump hates us. So they back off. So then Rahm, I don't know, calls up Greg, your good friend, Greg Hines over at Cranes.
Yeah. I'm trying to get an interview with him, so please take it easy on Hines.
Nothing but nice things.
Thank you.
I think it was Greg Hines. I don't know. I got to say, there's a paywall up. I can't get to Cranes. I just saw I said Cranes. I assumed it was Greg Hines. I could be wrong. Sorry, Greg, if I'm wrong. Anyway, I really want to be considered for the trade administration position. Oh, they put that out. Trade rep. And AOC weighs in. Boom. What don't you understand about Rahm Emanuel? He's toxic. AOC essentially says. AOC keeps talking about Laquan McDonald. AOC, if you want a bill of particulars that goes well beyond Laquan McDonald, just give us a call. Good God. Closing schools, closing clinics, fighting progressivity in the state of Illinois every chance he can, telling workers they have to give up their pensions. Like Rahm was Mitt Romney. And then suddenly Mitt Romney became unfashionable. So anyway, yes, I know that Miles Kampf-Lassin will have a lot to say about that, plus the budget battle going on in the city council as we speak. But before we do that, before we get to the good political talk with Miles Kampf-Lassin, the young man from Alton, the man that Rahm proudly calls Dr. D, with the news.
What's going on, everybody? Round two. Let's do it. Ben, hit that table. Hell yeah.
That may have been what broke it. You think?
Yeah, maybe. Like I said, something came undone on my end. And anyway, there's a setting I learned about on Google Meet. But anyway, all right, that's neither here nor there, right?
Okay. I think you keep this up, they're going to take away your millennial card. Just
dude, I lost that a long time ago.
Anyway.
Long time ago.
Dr. D with the news.
Who, me? I'm Dennis. Let's find out what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this afternoon. And we begin with the governor. Today, Illinois Governor Jb Pritzker will be giving his daily 2:30 COVID-19 update. A quick recap on Pritzker's update on Monday. And it's, well, time for some good news and some bad news. Good news. The state of Illinois is seeing its lowest positive test results since November 8th. Bad news, that rate is 10%, which really isn't good news. Governor Pritzker did deliver his update virtually on his computer because, you see, the governor would really prefer that we all keep our sorry asses at home this Thanksgiving holiday and not join that annual family get-together. Turns out the thing we've done literally every year since we've been born is now called a super spreader event. And if the governor can do things from home over his computer, like his updates, so can you on Thanksgiving. And that, Ben, is how you set a good example, am I right? But even with those lower results, the governor is still concerned about a post-holiday uptick.
If people are not going to follow the mitigations when they're having their Thanksgiving, they're potentially going to have more infections. I'm hoping that the work that we're doing through Tier 3 mitigations and other people following them, will perhaps offset those numbers.
But JB, the numbers have come down, right?
Yes, the numbers have come down, but they're still double-digit numbers, these positivity numbers. And we're still at, on average, more than 10,000 cases per day. And so we have to bring those numbers down. We have a lot of work to do. This is going to take, weeks, not days.
I see.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at you. It's a very somber message, but that was a good bit, Dave. There were these songs back way before your time in the 1960s where they would stitch together various pop hits, but they would do it like it was a news show. And so they would say, Henry Kissinger, what do you think about this? And then they would play the song, Gotta Get a Woman, Gotta Get a Woman. Anyway, I'm the only one who remembers that. I'm sure I would be like 7th grade going, oh my God, this is so funny. I love this. That's what it reminded of D when you asked JB the question and then he, good production.
Oh, thanks. I'm trying to save this show today, pal. You know what I mean? That whole drop off we had earlier.
Yeah, that makes up for the fact that you pulled some plug. Grandpa Dennis. I'm like, what? Wait.
Come on, man.
Uh-oh.
Hey, I'm all you got, pal. Don't piss me off. No, I'm just kidding. But no, what do you think about JB here? Kind of admitting a little bit that, like, all right, I know a lot of you people aren't going to do this thing and probably more than likely spend time with your family. So he's concerned about that uptick.
Yeah, D, let me tell you something. And this is so abundantly clear every day. I think people in this country are just so sick and tired of the pandemic. And we used to joke about this all the time. Like selective social distancing, remember the air show I think it was an air show in New York where everybody just rushed out, and it was the middle of the pandemic. Cuomo saying, don't look up at the sky. Everybody's rushing out to look at and there's the air show. And they're like, well, I don't think you can get COVID if you're looking at an air show. And then there was like the massive weddings in the Orthodox Jewish community. I think it was in New York and here in Chicago. It was like, oh, no. You don't get it if you are at a wedding. So I think people have this attitude about Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving. You're not really going to get it. It's like the virus goes, yeah, it's Thanksgiving. I'm taking a break for Thanksgiving. Get a holiday off because, it's like time and a half. And the virus's boss can't afford to pay the virus the money, the time and a half. So you get Thanksgiving off, fire. Okay. Yeah, so people are very strange when it comes to the pandemic, D. It's pretty obvious. We've seen all the hypocrisy in the parts of Democrats. I think that's another story you got coming up. Gavin Newsom in California, huge hypocrite.
Hypocrite.
Andrew Cuomo in New York, huge hypocrite. I got to say it, not looking good.
I think you started a new little word there, though. A Democrat who's a hypocrite. You call them a hypocrite.
Oh, yeah, hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah,
I'm
hypocrite.
So, yeah, I feel for Pritzker. He's trying to play it, he's trying to do the right thing, but I think people are just like, nah, tired of it. Don't want to do it anymore. It's over. At least for Thanksgiving. Okay.
All right, in other news and how not to set a good example, the following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Rachel Hinton. Naperville Mayor Steve Chirico, probably butchered that, found himself in an online family feud of sorts after attending his daughter's wedding in Florida just a week after warning his suburban constituents that a mask mandate might be in order to combat a surge of the coronavirus. The suburban mayor was publicly shamed by his niece, a former BuzzFeed personality, who tweeted she was, quote, fuming after learning her uncle traveled to Naples, Florida to attend the wedding, which she said included at least 50 guests. We have the tweet from Kristen Chirico, the niece. We got some all caps going on here. So the tweet says, I can't believe I have to say this, but if you are having a wedding this weekend with unmasked people in attendance, something is wrong with you.
Yeah, like I said, Democrats behaving badly. I didn't realize until now that the mayor of Naperville was a Democrat. And then Jeannie Ives piled on him in the story. I don't know if you saw that, D. Jeannie Ives, maybe she's thinking, having just defeated in a run for Congress, thinking of running for mayor in Naperville. So, yeah, I don't know what this guy was thinking. And same thing with Gavin Newsom. I was just talking about the governor of California. He's issuing all sorts of stay-at-home rulings, closing the schools, don't endanger your lives by going to big Thanksgiving parties. And what does he do? This story broke last week. I meant to talk about it last week, or maybe it broke over the weekend. I've lost track of time. Anyway, he meets with officials, lobbyists from the California Medical Association, this big conference room. No one's wearing a mask. They're dining. The story comes out. Everybody looks bad. They look like hypocrites. And whenever you catch a Democrat doing this, they're always like, "Oh yeah, I really regret doing that. I'm really sorry." And it's a typical thing. The only thing you're sorry about is that you got caught. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing you're sorry about. You knew before that it was wrong. You knew you should have been wearing a mask. You shouldn't have been maskless in that room. You're making all these orders and proclamations. Just make Democrats look so bad.
Did you see Gavin Newsom, the video of him apologizing? He was laying on the cheese.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm sorry, I'm not falling for it. You knew. It's like, how stupid do you think we are? It's just, there's so many examples of it. Here in Chicago, who can forget Lori Lightfoot with her haircut? Then she got mad. I'll give Gavin Newsom credit. At least he apologized. Lori got mad. She counter-punched. Yeah, but Lori and Donald Trump have some parallels there, all right? She really does remind me of Richard M. Daley. But anyway, she counter-punched. I gotta look good. How dare you? Dare you? Like the reporter did something wrong. But no, Gavin Newsom, what a joke. What an absolute joke. And then the crocodile tears. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did it. There was another one in New York. Same thing. I don't know. D, I try to stay true to my beloved Democratic Party. I do. You know this, D. I do. I try to stay true. But man, they make it hard on me. Just like with Rahm. Let's put him in the cabinet. What don't you understand, Joe Biden? Like the lefty base, many black voters, they can't stand this man. Whatever he brings to trade, and I don't even know, what does Rahm know about trade? Even though he does love cutting deals. So it's just like Dems are just so clueless. D, I can feel myself shifting with the election over. I'm moving away from just hating on Trump so much that I defend Dems to going after Dems. Guys, I did this for 30 years. I fought the Dems and the Dems won. That's what I did, guys. A lot of people are hearing me for the first time. They don't realize 80s and the 90s and the I'd be fighting Chicago Democrats. And then Trump was so bad. He was absolutely bad. But then my beloved Dems just do stuff like this. And Cuomo. Now, Cuomo wants to have Thanksgiving with his mom. So he announced he was going to have Thanksgiving with his mother. I don't know if you saw the story, Andrew. Cuomo, the governor of New York. And, it's kind of hard for me to criticize him for that. You know what I'm saying? It's his mother. He loves his mother dearly. It's Thanksgiving. She's got to be in her 80s. So I assume everybody's taking tests, right? They're all COVID-free. I assume that's the case. So then, I don't know. If that's the way it's going to be, then why issue these ultimatums? Stay away. Just sit at home alone and eat pudding for Thanksgiving. Why don't you just be human about it and go, well, if you do the tests and your mom's okay and you're okay, then get together. You know what I'm saying, D? But they got to be so Dudley do-right about it. Nope, stay at home. And then they have all these little commercials they do to reinforce the message, just make you feel kind of bad, and then they just violate it. And then all the Republicans, they quote your Uncle Eldon. Oh my God, I see that all the time. Rules for thee, not for me. I mean, wait a minute. That's Dennis's Uncle Eldon who said that.
Now listen, little Denny, rules for thee, not for me. Now, let's go.
Was it your Uncle Eldon or was it an aunt? Cindy. Could have been the aunt. I apologize for getting it wrong. Point is, they always quote, you were the first person I ever heard, believe it or not. I went through over 60 years of living, and I never heard that until one day Dennis goes, rules for thee, not for me. I'm like, whoa, what a great quote. So anyway, that's the Dems, man. My beloved Dems. Make it very hard for me to support you when you do stupid stuff like that. And the mayor of Naperville, what was I thinking?
Yeah, there's a good chance that he listens to the show. I don't know if Gavin Newsom listens, but there's a good chance this Naperville mayor listens. Anything you'd like to say to Mayor, what is it?
Steve.
Mayor Steve.
Just call it Mayor Steve.
Mayor Steve.
Hey, Mayor Steve, man. That was a bad move. That was a really stupid move. Why would anybody in Naperville believe you? And it's always oh yeah, it was this momentary lapse. I don't know what happened. Dude, you've only been saying for the last 6-7 months, stay at home. Don't get together with your friends. Just watch TV. And then you make little funny commercials. I'm talking about Gavin Newsom. And I'm it's like the president of Notre Dame, same thing. I don't know, D. I don't know what to tell you, young man. My beloved Democratic Party is always, always, always letting me down.
He doesn't know what to tell you. Sorry. All right. Now, moving on to other statewide news. After Democratic California Senator Dianne Feinstein announced on Monday she will step down from her Judiciary Committee leadership role next year, Senator Dick Durbin, is here to pick up the ball. He said he will seek to replace her with his seniority, putting him next in line for the spot. The announcement of Feinstein, 87 years old, comes in the wake of criticisms that she was not tough enough in handling the confirmation hearings for Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett and other judicial nominations the Republicans have been jamming through the Senate. Her hugging of Judiciary Committee Senator Lindsey Graham, RSC, at the end of the Barrett hearing was a sort of last straw for several progressive groups. I'll ask your thoughts on that in a minute, Ben. But Durbin said in a statement that he intends to seek the top Democratic position on the Judiciary Committee, saying, quote, I intend to seek the top Democratic position on the Judiciary Committee in the 117th Congress. See, he said it, Ben. That was it.
Said it. Well, it must be true.
I mean, it must be true. He also said, quote, I have served on the committee for 22 years, and I am its most senior member who does not currently serve atop another Senate committee. We have to roll up our sleeves and get to work on undoing the damage of the last 4 years and protecting fundamental civil and human rights. Rights.
I have so much to say about this on so many different levels. The number one, the hugging of Lindsey Graham. What's that all about? First of all, again, a pandemic. Hello. You're not supposed to be hugging anybody. Oh, let me hug you. I'm like 87. You're, I don't know how old Lindsey Graham is. Let's just hug. What? See, that's Dems. Dems always want to show how they get along with Republicans. What has Lindsey Graham done, like to reciprocate the hug? You know what he did? He was passing on some of the goofier theories about stealing the election. That's what he did. A lot of good that hugging day with Lindsey Graham. After he defeated Jamie Harrison, he starts promoting these whacked out Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell theories that the Dems somehow stole the election. There you go, Dianne Feinstein. All that hugging. What did it do? You think it might buy a little love? The dude just got reelected. Lindsey Graham, what? Do you think the Democrats just weren't smart enough to rig the election in South Carolina? Why would they let your sorry Bo Hunkus get reelected?
Bo Hunkus. Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. That's like the 1960s calling me back. Fireside burning bright, and we're caroling through. So just started thinking of the fire pit. So you're hugging him. What do you get for hugging him? Nothing. Oh, the Democrats love to promote. We just get along. I'm going to hug Lindsey Graham in the middle of a pandemic. We're not allowed to hug our mothers, but I'm going to hug Lindsey Graham. So I'm with you. On the other hand, and this goes out to all my friends of the far right, the far left, persuasion. David Sirota, I'm thinking of you. David Sirota, former speechwriter for Bernie Sanders, now has his own blog. Very successful entrepreneur. My hat's off to him. But still, during the whole Amy Coney Barrett hearing, he was like fired up. Do this, do that. I've been reading his columns. David, what can they do? They have the votes. What part of them having the votes are you not getting? They can do this, they can do that. And I'm looking, there was nothing they could do. Sirota. So, Dems, like they have this imagination, like this secret weapon. Like some of these radicals, they have a secret weapon that we could use to keep the Republicans from using their votes to elect Amy Coney Barrett, to nominate, to officially appoint her to the Supreme Court. They have the vote. They don't even need a hearing. Like, we could disrupt the hearings. What good is that going to do? They have the vote. McConnell had the votes. You should be trying to work to win over some of those Senate seats. God, I would have had him win back in 2018 to make a difference. So it's like, there's so much insanity out there now on both sides, But when I put the two together, I have to say that Feinstein hugging Graham is worse than a frustrated David Sirota trying to raise money for his new operation by saying, do something. I'm more with Sirota than I don't get what the hugging of Lindsey Graham has done. You figure, one more time, Diane, you hugged him. And what did he do? He went out and promoted the wackiest Rudy Giuliani, sideburns leaking, hairspray, not dye, hairspray, blow my nose into my handkerchief, wipe the handkerchief all over my face, theories on the election. That's what he did in exchange for your hug. You know what? No more hugging. No more hugging, okay? No more hugging.
What? I love hugging.
No more hugging until the pandemic's over. Then you can hug Lindsey Graham all you want.
All right. And who would have thought those two words would link together? Sideburns and leaking.
Sideburns leaking. Blow my nose in my handkerchief. Rub it in my face. That's a heck of a press. No wonder Trump turned on Giuliani.
Yeah, you bet your Bo Hunkus. All right. Now.
He's crazy. I don't like him. I have the worst Donald Trump imitation.
No, you're not even trying.
Let's hear yours, Mr. I have a Donald Trump imitation.
My name's Donald Trump. How you doing? All right.
Wait, that sounded like my cousin Vinny. Sorry.
All right, now to the news in the city of Chicago.
Wait, hold on.
What?
My favorite part of the story.
Oh.
My favorite. You were quoting, I don't know if you mentioned this, the Durbin going for the judiciary position.
Yeah.
You were quoting an article in the Bright One written by one Lynn Sweet. And at the bottom of the story was my favorite part of the story, Willie Wilson.
Oh, yeah, the Wilson part, yeah.
Come on, Willie. Willie Wilson, a good friend of the show. I got to have some Republicans on the show, ladies and gentlemen. I got Nick Spasato's been on. I don't know if he's like officially a Republican. Have you ever noticed all the Republicans that come on the Ben Joravsky show are like kind of embarrassed to admit they're Republicans? I'm an independent, Ben.
Yeah, there's been like two. It's not like we're just lining up the Republicans to be on the program.
Two, okay. You're right.
And I don't even think two. I'm being kind.
Nick and Willie. But they won't even say they're Republicans. I'm independent. Scott Winslow, who is a spokesperson for Willie Wilson. And Scott always sends me emails and stuff on behalf of Willie. Says he's really starting to doubt the veracity of the election. He thinks that something's wrong because Willie Wilson only got 4% of the vote. He should have got more. That was my favorite part of it. The headline is Whining Willie Wilson. Oh, that Sun Times. They're really sticking it to what? Come on, Willie Wilson. Come on, Scott. You know the election was legit. Willie got trounced because voters didn't want a Republican to be their senator. And voters knew that a vote for Willie Wilson was effectively a vote for the Republican Party because Willie was not going to get enough votes to actually win the election. He could only get enough votes to deny Dick Durbin the seat. So stop it. Willie was playing the spoiler role, whether he did so intentionally or whether he did so because he allowed his Republican friends to delude him. I do not know. But please, Scott Winslow, you're too smart to put this out. And Willie Wilson, you're too smart to fall for it. So stop, desist right now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now to the news in the city of Chicago. Definitely not a normal day when former President Barack Obama randomly shows up in your Zoom meeting. Not a normal day. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Nadir Issa. High school students and teachers at Chicago public schools received an email Monday morning that didn't tell them exactly who would be at their virtual assembly that afternoon, but gave some strong hints. The speaker had, quote, strong ties to Chicago, millions of Twitter followers, and made history multiple times throughout their career. Hours later.
Wait, was it Chance the Rapper?
No, not Chance the Rapper. Hours
I'm going
later.
through all the clues. All right.
Wait, yeah.
I'm going through all the. It was Derek Rose. That's who it was, right?
It was definitely not Ben Joravsky.
Okay. All right. I tried my best with all the clues that they gave. Go
Strong
ahead,
ties to Chicago, Ben Joravsky, yes. Millions of Twitter followers.
Yeah. I think I have 2 Twitter followers, okay?
Hours later, those who tuned in to the live stream assembly were greeted by former President Barack Obama, who surprised CPS's 105,000 high schoolers and thousands of teachers with laptops for students who can't afford them during the pandemic, rent or mortgage money to help their parents during a pandemic. Anything at all to help these students, parents, or teachers during a pandemic? No, just free digital copies of his new memoir, A Promised Land. The 15-minute appearance marked Obama's latest stop on his busy media blitz to promote the long-awaited 768-page book, which will be available to students and teachers in ebook and audiobook formats. Thanks, wow. Obama.
Oh, man. D. Here I go. My beloved Dems. What was I just saying? Seriously, Obama. I mean, really. 105,000 ebook copies. Like, who's got 768 pages? That's a lot. That's a huge thing to read on an ebook. And like, the biggest problem so many kids in Chicago are facing right now. They don't have computers. So it's like, why don't you give us computers? What that was? Like, okay, you could put the book in the computer. That's something, all right? But no, oh my God. Do you remember I got in so much trouble? Whenever I criticize Obama, I always get in trouble. How dare you say anything about our president? People love Obama. And that's, listen, I always say this. Every time his name appeared on a ballot and I was able to participate in the election, I voted for him. So I voted for him for president. I voted for him in the primary to get the nomination. I voted for him in the primary to get the Senate nomination. I voted for him for senator. So, yeah, I understand the appeal of Obama. I see that name and I go, oh, Obama, got to vote for him, But I don't know. There's something self-serving, like embarrassingly self-serving about passing out to every kid in Chicago a free digital copy of a 768-page book. And some kids don't have freaking computers. It's like, what are they going to do with this thing?
Thanks for the book, I guess.
Can't study. I'm reading this 768. So I don't know. I don't know. There's just something self-serving about it. And it really would have been a great story had the story had been, he gave out, he figured out from CPS which kids really needed computers, Yeah. And got them computers and then put the book in the computer. Right. That would have been okay.
The book is part one. There should have been a part two.
Yeah.
And for those who want to read my book and can't, I got these computers for you.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, good imitation. Buttercup. So I don't know. There's just something a little self-serving about.
Yeah, kind of turning into the sham wow guy or something.
And I'm trying to figure out, did he? So he had the 105,000 copies. Did someone buy them, or they just? Well, that's whatever. I'm taking too much of a deep dive into this. I just think President Obama, in all due respect, that's sort of like let them eat cake almost. I mean, people have some real needs, and oh my God, help with rent. That would have been great. People having really struggles in this pandemic. 105,000. You know what, D? And I know there are a lot of fans he has in Chicago going to be mad at me. How dare you say anything about Barack Obama? So I'll say no more. I got to figure out some way to praise him.
Yeah,
good book, Barack.
We got to keep as many listeners as we can. Great book, dude.
Great book. I haven't read it. I'm not sure I'm going to read it, D.
Love that ebook. That's awesome. Gave 105.
Definitely not going to read it on ebook.
Yeah. That's
for sure. Can you imagine, some kid trying to read the book on his phone? 768 pages book on a phone.
Yeah.
Just gonna read this book.
It's kind of like, it's like, dude, did you like it's like a paywall or something. I'll remove the paywall for all of you to read my book.
Exactly. Thank you. That's really nice of you, Mr. President.
All right, we got one big event scheduled for our Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot this gross rainy Tuesday.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, hey, good afternoon, Mayor. Today is the day we find out if Mayor Lightfoot's budget gets approved by the city council. I have been refreshing the Chicago Sun-Times website feverishly. In fact, I'll do it right now. Uh-oh. It looks like we may have okay, this just in. We have breaking news. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times, and oh yeah, you know it, Fran the Woman Spielman. After a string of uncharacteristic concessions, Mayor Lori Lightfoot muscled her $12.8 billion pandemic budget through the city council today in a vote closer than Chicago has seen in decades. The closest vote, 28-22, was on the mayor's plan to raise property taxes by $94 million, followed by annual increases tied to the consumer price index. Alderman Anthony Beal, Ben of what ward?
Ninth.
What a nerd. Called it the forever tax. It will cost the owner of a home valued at $250,000 an extra $56. The vote on the budget itself, 29 to 21. A roll call made famous during the Council Wars power struggle that saw 29 mostly white aldermen thwart then Mayor Harold Washington's every move. Aldermen love to have their cake and eat it too by voting for the budget, but not for the revenue to pay for it. So I'm gonna send you this link, Ben, and you can check it out as well. But your thoughts here? Looks like the budget got passed.
Yeah, it did get passed. We predicted it would get passed after it won in the Finance Committee. I'm not surprised. And who cares? I cannot say this enough. I was hoping for a 25-25 vote. That would have been like one of those great moments for Chicago to learn that the mayor could cast the deciding vote. I was really hoping for that. And then, but alas, 28 to 20. It is funny. I share the Fran's delight at that. So it's like, you voted for the budget, but you didn't vote for the money that's needed to pay all the items in the budget. Oh, that's really sneaky. And like who's going to understand the distinction? You know, I voted against the tax hike, but then I voted to spend the money. Well, you know, I'm sure had a good. I don't know who that person was. I haven't. Do they have a list of who voted for and against the budget, D, in that story, or not yet?
I'm looking here. I sent you the link.
So
yeah, I
it
think
would require me actually going to my phone.
Yeah. I mean, this is just breaking here. I'm gonna have to take a look at that, and maybe we can get
doesn't
that.
matter. I'll take it. By the way, just to let everybody know, Mr. Bike, Dave Glowatz, is covering that meeting for us, and we're going to do it next Tuesday. He'll have his report. We always have a lot of fun when we break down the antics of the Chicago City.
I got one name. Byron Sixto Lopez.
I'm sure that was a no vote.
Yeah.
So maybe Miles has some update information who voted yes, no.
Yeah,
we'll take that apart as time goes on. But I'm not surprised, and I don't think it's a sign of weakness that the mayor didn't get 48 to 2. I think it's a sign of strength for the city of Chicago. There different clumps of aldermen had different reasons for voting against it. The North Side aldermen, I presume, were also against it because they were against it in the finance because of the tax. So everybody's being anti-tax on the North Side of Chicago these days. Anthony Beal voted against these from the 9th Ward. He just does not like Lori Lightfoot, so he's going to be against her budgets no matter what. I don't blame him. You know, and I'm sure Raylo was against it as well for similar reasons. We'll probably bring Raylo on to explain his vote. So, D, you know, it's not balanced. We're going to find that out in the middle of next year. And it's a punt budget. And essentially, they're hoping that the Fed's kicking some money with Joe Biden coming in with the Joe Biden administration would really help to win Georgia, to get money going to cities and states in the middle of this pandemic. We'll be talking about that with Miles, the Georgia Senate race. If you got to get money out of a Senate that's controlled by Mitch McConnell, that will be very difficult. So it would really help the Democratic cause and would help the city of Chicago to win those elections in Georgia. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, if you have any influence in Georgia, you know, I noticed this, D, mayors are generally more popular the further they get from the city of Chicago. So maybe Mayor Lori Lightfoot's popular in Georgia. If you have any influence, please use it, because that Senate election will impact the city of Chicago and whether you receive the money you need from the feds to, quote unquote, balance this budget, which is most definitely not balanced. I can assure you that, D.
All right, I'm looking through this piece here, and it says the most impassioned speech was delivered by Alderman Jeanette Taylor, 20th Ward, who will be on our program later on, who told Lightfoot, quote, "Don't give me crumbs and tell me it's cake." Taylor said she is baffled by how we are, quote, okay with a budget that raises fines, fees, gasoline, and property taxes at a time of unprecedented economic hardship. Let's see here. Alderman Ray Lopez, one of Lightfoot's most outspoken city council critics, told his colleagues, "This is not just a fiscal vote, my friends. It's a moral vote. Chicago's humanity is at stake. Where is our empathy? 2020 has kicked our residents in the teeth, robbed and spat on them. Why is this city council trying to justify harming them further for the next 4 decades?"
I'm a big fan of JT, and Raylo has stepped up his game in terms of being an opponent to the mayor. I think it's very important for democracy in Chicago that mayors are questioned and not bowed down to, which has been the tradition of the last 30 years or so. So I'm looking forward to hearing what Jeanette has to say. She'll be on the show. We're going to record an interview with her at about 4 o'clock and drop it sometime in the next couple of days. Looking forward to talking to JT. Jeanette Taylor is quickly emerging as one of my favorite aldermen. She speaks from her heart, D. She tells it like it is. She has great passion, and she's fearless. And so I can't say enough good things about Jeanette Taylor. I'm really looking forward to having her on the show and talking to her in a couple hours.
Absolutely, guys. You can hear the Jeanette Taylor interview later on this week at the Chicago Reader website and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. Also, plenty of Ben Joravsky Show episodes, all right? Over 600 of these bad boys. Try and listen to them all. And let us know. You listen to every single one. But no, go check these out at the Chicago Reader website and wherever else you download your podcast, The Ben Joravsky Show. Live and downloaded, man. We do the live stream, and we have plenty of content to download as well. Also, follow us online at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can always send us an email, BennyJShow@gmail.com, and we have a phone number. It's true. Yes, someone tried calling us today and did not leave a voicemail, but you can call us and leave a voicemail, 708-658-4788. The number again, 708-658-4788. Call the Ben Joravsky Show. Let us know what's on your mind. Breaking news today, so we're going to be trying our best to keep you updated on this as today's program rolls along. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a break. It's only a break. The show's not broke. We fixed that. We're just taking a break, and we're coming right back with Miles Kampf-Lassin of In These Times. It's the Ben Joravsky Show. We are live from my apartment in Ben's attic.
If people are not going to follow the
afternoon,
collusion.
everyone.
Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by the Chicago Reader and the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, take it away.
Miles Kampf-Lassin, the pride and joy of In These Times, the pride and joy of Whitney Young High School, a rock and roll superstar from back in the early O's, has joined us. Miles, did you get a haircut?
Not yet. Still growing.
Not yet. Oh, it's just combed differently. Sorry about all that attention on Miles. Miles kind of like feels about when he comes to the show the way Nancy Pelosi supporters feel. Like when Nancy leaves the White House, people always comment on the dress. And Miles is like, how come you always talk about my hair, man? There's more to me than my hair, okay?
I try to, much like our friends at what I've been watching lately, the Great British Baking Show, I try to combine both style and substance. So
okay. We have
because, we're all of us are a little bit ungroomed lately because of the situation out of our control. So, I'm just letting those locks grow.
Well, let me just say this on the issue of being ungroomed. I've been unfashionably ungroomed since the early days of the Jimmy Carter administration. So I was ungroomed long before it was fashionable. All right, we got a lot to talk about with Miles. Madigan, Robin cabinet. I'm all fired up on Rahm in the cabinet. I don't know what Joe Biden is thinking. I actually don't even think Joe Biden's thinking of it. I think Rahm's just promoting it. The Michigan Senate victory, all kinds of things. But let's just talk about the budget in the city of Chicago a little bit, Miles. Miles covers local and national news for In These Times. We just got the breaking news. Dennis gave me Lori Lightfoot got her budget passed. I think the vote was 28 to 22 on the tax increase portion of the budget, and then 29 to 21 on the budget itself. What a joke. Some aldermen voted against the tax and then voted for the budget. Thinks this alderman, whoever it is, I don't know what it is, must think his or her constituents are really stupid. Jeanette Taylor, powerful quote denouncing the budget. Don't give me crumbs and tell me it's cake. And she was sort of speaking for a lot of people of the leftist persuasion in the city of Chicago. And she said that, Miles. On the other hand, I see that Maria Hadden, Andre Vasquez, Michael Rodriguez voted for it. So what's your general thoughts on the budget that the mayor has pushed to the city council?
Miles, are you there? Ben, are you there?
I'm here. I'm waiting for Miles. I think we lost him. We're having some troubles today with the show.
There are days and there are days.
You know what? Live stream listeners, I appreciate you sticking through this, but the podcasters, they'll never even know about this, D. You're right. But yeah, we lost Miles. I was holding back, waiting for him to answer that, but we've seen.
All right, I'll fill in for Miles. Well, my hair's really long, and it's just getting out of control. That budget, I tell you, that's crazy. But boy, I play guitar.
It was well done, man.
I'm trying.
For a second, I thought that was Miles.
I'm trying.
So we're gonna reach back out to Miles, see what he has to say.
No, but you're taking a look at that article there in the Sun Times. Kind of share with everybody what we're learning here, because like I said, it's just now breaking.
Yeah, it was just breaking. I noticed that this was the point I was raising with Miles, and if you really follow closely the politics of the left in the city of Chicago, 3 aldermen who are generally considered progressives or Democratic Socialists voted for the budget. That would be Maria Hadden of the 49th Ward on the far north side, Mike Rodriguez of the 22nd Ward in Little Village, and Andre Vasquez of the 40th Ward, which is around just west of Andersonville on the north side of Chicago. So, there's each alderman has his or her own reason. I think there's a lot of obvious wheeling and dealing behind the scenes that each alderman is trying to cut his or her own deal. Miles, are you there?
I'm back.
Oh, you sound much better. I don't know what went down, but I was asking you for your general thoughts on the budget. I noted that 3 progressive aldermen, Maria Haddon, Mike Rodriguez, and Andre Vasquez, voted for it, even though many of their colleagues on the left side of the council voted no. What's your general thoughts?
Yeah, I think that this is a pretty historic budget vote in that, as you just said, the numbers. I mean, that 21 is pretty close to 26, but the opposition still fell short, including by winning over some of the progressives, Maria Haddon, Mike Rodriguez, and Andre Vasquez, as you mentioned. This is, a complicated time because there's a mayor who has resisted to say the least, a lot of the proposals put forward by progressives on the council. And yet we're in the midst of a pandemic and the city is struggling as its residents are. And there were some elements of this budget that would, provide support as you would expect from a citywide budget. I can't, pathologize what they, any of these particular 3 progressives decided, what made them decide to side with the mayor on this particular vote. But I would not be shocked if they explained it by saying that, they were voting for the good parts of the budget and, they're going to continue to fight against the bad parts. The problem is, look, this is where the road meets the rubber, is on the actual votes through the democratic process. And this was a chance to reject another, what most, I think progressive observers would call an austerity budget, a budget that asks working people in Chicago to pay more in order to make up for the financial crisis that has resulted not just from COVID, but from the fact that, corporate class in the city has gotten wealthier and wealthier as poor communities are continuing to be starved of resources, which is exactly the dynamic that this mayor said she was running against when she ran for mayor just a few months ago. So, I think it's not surprising that the vote was this close. I think that the defections from the left that you named are pretty noticeable and stark. And, that'll be a debate among groups that backed those candidates, I'm sure, but also about how to build and get to 26, because I think that that's what, especially on issues like this, that's what it comes down to, is how do you build a coalition that can actually not just not be a rubber stamp, which we saw, clearly this council's not just approving everything, but able to push back and peel back some gains for working people. I mean, look at the whole issue of progressive taxation. That was hardly even talked about. We could have restored the corporate head tax in this budget. We could have included a higher, tax on retail property rather than asking just, regular homeowners in the city of Chicago to pay more across the board. There's all kinds of progressive measures that could have been taken that this administration resisted. So, I mean, the fight goes on, but I think you're right to point out that those were, pretty surprising.
Well, it's really difficult to talk about new forms of taxation in the middle of a pandemic. And I know this because I'm feeling the effects of the pandemic hard in our own little house right here. So I know it's across the board. And to a large degree, I think this budget, as I said, is a punt, putting off tough decisions in the hopes of money coming in from Joe Biden. So I gather that. But one thing progressives have to realize, just putting aside the specificity of the situation we're in with the pandemic, is that there's clearly not close to 26 votes in the city council for a progressive budget. Because if you take a look at the aldermen who voted no, Miles, they come from different groups within the city council, different factions, and some of them would be vehemently opposed to anything remotely resembling a progressive budget. So, for instance, my good friend Raylo in the 15th Ward, I don't know if he would vote for a progressive budget. The North Side aldermen who voted no, I don't know if they would vote for a progressive budget. And the Northwest Side aldermen, I have to see exactly who voted no, but the people who had been opposed, Marty Quinn, the 13th Ward alderman, voted no, I believe, in finance. So I don't know how he voted today, but so I don't know if there are votes for a progressive budget. You know what I'm saying? That we could read too much into this to say that.
Yeah, well, I don't want to give too rosy of a picture. I mean, obviously, those are fights that need to be had, but those are proposals that have been put forward consistently by people like Carlos Ramirez Rosda and Rosana Rodriguez, the 35th and 33rd wards, respectively. I mean, these aren't like ideas that are coming out of nowhere. They've been discussed, and I think that the only way you see if they win is if you bring them to the floor for a vote, and instead, what this administration's done and council's done is to put all of these proposals into the rules committee again, where they've gone to die, much like happened under previous mayors. And I'll just say, and I'll say this because this is what these folks have openly said, but just to put a pin on what you were saying earlier, Nick Sposato today said he respects 96% of his colleagues, which I think was pretty clear. We could clearly ascertain what he's trying to say through that. And Brendan Riley said that he tweeted this out earlier today. He said he had to listen to so much left-wing rhetoric. He had to, pull back and breathe into a bag in order to not freak out. So clearly, there's some of these longtime aldermen are getting a little triggered by all the open left-wing talk that's happening on the city council, which I think is a pretty positive development. I mean, if you listen to some of the public comments, they were, from regular working people, organizers, activists, people that are facing the realities of life in Chicago as being, poor person of color, and saying, we're not going to put up with this anymore. I think that there needs to be more of that type of voice on city council. I think we haven't had it in a long time, and I think the inclusion of some open leftists on the council helps. And then also kind of because of this new arrangement, because of COVID with the call-in into these meetings, we've been able to hear more from people on the ground that are dealing with this. And, some aldermen are pretty uncomfortable with that, but I say, let's get some more of it.
And it's a perfect segue into the Rahm discussion, because what you're getting at, not so much with Nick Sposato, who is pretty much a Trumpster. I haven't talked to Nick since this election, so I don't know if he did vote for Trump this time around. He did last time. So he's pretty much a Trumpster. But Brendan Riley from the 42nd Ward on the Gold Coast has been really edging toward Trump country in this last month or so. He endorsed Pat O'Brien in the run against Kim Foxx for state's attorney, and now he's so upset by the rhetoric the speeches coming from the Carlos Ramirez Rosas of the world that he felt compelled to put out that tweet. So this gets at sort of the dynamics of the Democratic Party that's so symbolized by Rahm Emanuel. And Rahm, when he was mayor of the city of Chicago, had open hatred for all things on the left. Brendan Riley seems to be drinking from Rahm's cup there. And now that Joe Biden was elected largely by the support, I would say, of lefties and black voters, Rahm is trying to emerge and get an appointment to the administration and the cabinet somehow or other. So any position. I think he'll take any position just to say, "Hey, I'm a player." What's your thoughts about this, Miles? Do you think that the left will be able to convince Joe Biden to keep Rahm Emanuel out of the cabinet? Do you think that Joe Biden will try to appease the Brendan Rileys of the world by putting Rahm in the cabinet? What's your thoughts on this?
If I had to get, my position on this, I have been pretty clear about. I actually wrote an article in these Times that was called "Keep Rahm Emanuel as far away from the Biden administration as possible," and laying out the case for that. I actually wrote a different piece that I believe is coming out soon in a publication called Jalopnik. Focuses mainly on actually cars and transportation issues, but making the case specifically why he should not be transportation secretary, which is what the position he's been floated for. Now, according to Greg Hines at Cranes, he's apparently angling for or being considered for U.S. trade representative. I haven't heard those reports confirmed. Who knows where Greg got that idea, maybe from Rahm himself. We don't know exactly where this rumor mill is beginning or ending. There's one particular issue that has really galvanized the progressive left, I'd say, across the country, and that has been keeping Rahm Emanuel out of the Biden administration, not even because of his failed record in public life, which is, too long to list here, but has, just been marked by trying to appease and cozy up to corporate interests and billionaires, people like Elon Musk, while just leaving working people out in the cold. We saw that throughout his time in Chicago. He never met with, or listened to grassroots community organizations. Some of, you and McDunkie's reporting on who Rahm was taking meetings with. It was all the, business CEOs. That's who he was representing as mayor. And I think that's who he's represented throughout his career and would continue to represent in a Biden cabinet, which is why many of us don't want him. Covered up a video, withheld video from public view of Jason Van Dyke shooting Laquan McDonald 16 times. I think that left a stain on his career that he'll carry for the rest of his life. And that's what a lot of folks like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Mondaire Jones, two incoming Congress people, have cited as their reason for really being opposed to Rahm's selection. The list can go on, and but I think that the message that this should send is, if Joe Biden does select Rahm Emanuel, it won't only be a poor choice, in terms of his administration. And, I think Rahm should be as far away from the levers of state power as possible, considering what he's done when he's had access to that. But it would also just send such a debilitating message to the community, the very communities and constituencies that won Joe Biden this election, and basically saying, I actually don't plan to listen to you or take you seriously at all. And I don't think that's the foot that this administration wants to start out their term in office on. I would hope it wouldn't be. It's kind of fool me once, fool me twice. There was times when Obama selected Rahm as his chief of staff back in late 2009, or early 2009, late 2008, that people in Chicago thought, hey, maybe this means we'll get some good deals in Chicago, because Rahm's, a Chicago guy, he's going into the administration. What happened? What did Rahm do? He fought to get a lower stimulus bill. He advised Barack Obama not to pursue healthcare reform, saying it was too much of a political cost. Luckily, Obama didn't listen to him. He told him not to pursue immigration reform because he said it was a third rail of American politics, which Obama did listen to him on, and we got zero action on that until the Dreamer actions years later. I mean, this is somebody who just is opposed to the progressive vision that so many of us hold, and is going to fight for that whether he's education or transportation or U.S. trade representative. If he's in there, you best believe that Rahm Emanuel is going to be fighting tooth and nail to make sure that he destroys any opportunities for success for the progressive left. So I think that it's pretty clear that this is a toxic choice, and that and I don't even know. I mean, we haven't heard from Biden's people that Rahm is a key candidate. It's more been kind of media hype. And we all know that Rahm Emanuel himself is kind of a master of media hype. So I would not be shocked if he was involved in some of this rumor mill himself. But we better hope that the Biden team is smart enough to stay as far away as possible.
Yeah, that was well put. And I assume that if Rahm himself is not in the cabinet, there will be someone with Rahm's worldview in that cabinet with influence to Biden. It's just that's where Biden comes from. So it's not as though you're going to completely keep out people who view the world the way Rahm Emanuel or Brendan O'Reilly view the world. It's just this particular purveyor of that view. And when you were talking, Miles, I had this flash. Let's say he is nominated for trade rep. I think that requires a Senate confirmation. I know a secretary in the cabinet does. Can you imagine if it comes before the Senate? And Republicans, man, they want to make things as bad as they can for Dems. You remember during the campaign how Donald Trump used Joe Biden's support for the crime bill in the 90s against Joe Biden in an attempt to get black voters to vote for Donald Trump. Imagine just Rahm at a Senate confirmation hearing. We might finally find out what happened with Laquan McDonald. I almost want Joe Biden to do this so I can hear a Republican interrogate Rahm on Laquan McDonald. You know how Rahm, you ask the mayor, Mayor Rahm, why did you bury the Laquan McDonald video and keep it from under oath? He can't duck and dodge, Miles.
Well, you just made a strong case for him to be at least thrown in front of some type of Senate committee for some reason. I hope it's not, him being involved in a new administration, but I'm right there with you that he should definitely be forced to get under oath in front of the Senate and answer some questions. I mean, look, you just brought up the crime bill. Rahm was intimately involved in passing that. He also, under Clinton, was an architect of NAFTA. He helped to write the damn legislation that fueled offshoring of jobs, that helped lead to this flatlining of wages, that basically, demolished the U.S. manufacturing sector. And then welfare reform was another, key point that Rahm brought to the Clinton administration, was passing through this this bill that shredded the safety net, that led to a spike in extreme poverty and has widely been condemned by all factions of the Democratic coalition now. So, yeah, I mean, Rahm's got a lot to answer for.
He sure does. And by the way, Rahm on immigration is no joke either, which is so funny because at some point he he was trying to jump aboard that bandwagon, and he would always be talking about some relative or another of his who came to this country through Ellis Island and how much he believes in immigration. I'm like, you are something else, Rahm Emanuel.
There's a memo. People should, I don't know. I read this stuff because I'm a nerd, but in 1996, he wrote a memo to the Clinton administration advising him to achieve a record number of deportations of what he called criminal aliens. Like, this is somebody he was telling a Democrat to do this. So, like, as much as he might, celebrate, not, people might have, come to whatever the left moments in their lives. I don't think Rahm's had that. He's just kind of triangulated and followed the political pathways he's needed to be able to retain power. So when he cheered on things like Chicago being a sanctuary city, I mean, obviously did this when he was mayor, you look a little deeper, because he also told Democrats to not even touch the issue of immigration, because he referred to it as, quote unquote, the third rail of American politics. Well, now, look, the Democratic Party relies on the Latino vote in order to win at a national level. So do you really want somebody in your administration who's been so, has had so much antipathy towards the undocumented community and towards immigrants in general, that he had actually advised Democrats on a national scale when he was at the DCCC to not even talk about immigration, let alone propose legislation. So, yeah, I think that you're very right to bring up the immigration as a particularly toxic aspect of Rahm's record.
Oh, yeah. Joe Biden, I know you're a big listener of this show, and you particularly love the segments where Miles comes on. Please do yourself a huge favor. Find some other right-wing Democrat. If you got to put one on, put Brendan Riley on. The guy, he's clearly bored with being alderman of the 42nd Ward. Put him on. All right, let's
one last thing. If you're going to put, and since we're sending a direct message to Joe Biden and his team, which I appreciate, because they, I know that they're listening right now and every day. Hey, if you're going to do Rahm, might as well just pick a Republican senator from maybe a state that has a Democratic governor, and put that person in your cabinet. And, that might do a little bit better for the party long term than having Rahm. And if you're going to have Rahm, you might as well have a Republican. And if you're going to have a Republican, you might as well do it in a state that's going to appoint a Democratic senator. Maybe that ends up giving you control of the Senate to actually get some stuff done. Just a thought.
Well, as you said, Joe Biden is an avid listener, and Joe Biden has responded.
So this idea is a bunch of malarkey.
Oh,
Biden, it was a good idea. It was actually a very good idea. And immediately I was scrambling, trying to think of what state fits that. I was trying to think, I think Louisiana. I don't know who the Republican senator is in Louisiana, John Kennedy. What can you find for him that could? Hey, John Kennedy, you have to pick a cabinet position that really has no power. You know what I'm saying? You got to give him something that can't possibly do any damage. But it's a great idea, Miles. I really like that idea.
Well, and people, Obama famously selected Ray LaHood, a Republican, to run the transportation department under his administration. So it's not unheard of, and if you're trying to do this gang of rivals thing, at least make it politically advantageous for yourself long term.
No, it used to be. I'm telling you this. I've said this before. Presidents would generally try to find one cabinet position they could fill with a member of the other party. I think this ended with Trump. And you're right. It was so Obama put LaHood in, and his replacement, of course, didn't do him any good. Aaron Schock. So a lot of good that did Obama. But all right, now the big fight coming ahead, I've mentioned this several times, is the battle for the 2 Senate positions in Georgia. When I talk about Chicago, so much of the stimulus package that Chicago will get to quote unquote balance its budget, because let's face it, Miles, this budget is largely anticipating getting money from the feds. The state's anticipating getting money from the feds. You only get the money from the feds really if you have a good working relationship with the Senate. That's pretty obvious. So 2 really important Senate races coming up in January in Georgia. And what are the lessons that you learned from Michigan? You talked on the show many times about how you were doing volunteer work in Michigan. You were following the Michigan Senate race with Gary Peters very closely. What are some of the lessons you learned from Michigan that would help the Democrats in Georgia?
I think this is going to be the first test of this new Democratic, administration, coalition. The party is in a position right now where obviously Georgia is not an ideal state to try to run the table and win 2 Senate races. But that said, the conditions are very ripe for there to be a rejection of what Donald Trump has, represented throughout his time in office, and also for all of the, Trump MAGA people to have some type of a protest outcry that ends up undermining the actual Republican Senate candidates in the state. So on one level, I think that there's a chance that this both of these races will see some of the Republicans eating their own. We've started to see the beginnings of some of that already on the Democratic side now. There's been some pretty encouraging news, I'd say, about at least what the Democrats are planning to do. I believe it was BuzzFeed had a story this past week about some of the efforts of the local grassroots groups across the state there that are aligned with Stacey Abrams' larger project about, signing up new voters, but also fighting for voting rights and building up democratic institutions across the state to help provide more turnout. I think as we've seen, Georgia it's a state that just voted for Joe Biden. Actually, it's one of the few areas where Democrats had a House pickup. I think it was in the suburbs of Atlanta, a House race that Democrats won. So there's opportunities for Democrats to succeed in the state, but it's going to come down to base turnout. And I think that that's what we're seeing on the, and so that just means less persuasion, right? More getting people who already would support a Democratic agenda to actually show up and vote. Because as we know, in this country, it's about half of people just don't vote. And in poor communities, especially communities of color, that ratio is magnified, unfortunately. So the work that some of these groups are doing is door-to-door canvassing. And we have a pandemic that is rapidly raging across the country. It's incredibly serious. And I understand reticence to do that type of in-person voter engagement, but Republicans did it. Across, for months they've been doing it ahead of the election. And while we saw record turnout, and Joe Biden won this election by, he won over 80 million votes, the most ever. Donald Trump also won a lot more than he won in 2016. It looks like about 74 million right now. The Republicans succeeded in bringing out their base. They just didn't have enough votes because Democrats, did better. But we can't just rely on that dynamic to lead to victories in that state in these Senate races. So I think that means using all the tools at the disposal. There's ways to safely canvas and do door-to-door work that these groups, I think, are showing. If somebody shows up at the door, if they show up to somebody's door and somebody answers and isn't wearing a mask, they just leave literature and say thanks, goodbye. So I think that there's a real effort to try to mitigate some of the harmful possibilities of COVID spread during this canvassing work. But I encourage people, if you care about this, donate to some of these groups that are doing this work. I mean, obviously you can donate to the candidates themselves, but this is such a critical juncture. And who would have thought, that the future of so many of these progressive proposals that have been pushed by not just like the Bernie wing of the party, but by Biden's team itself, are dependent on what happens in early January. So, yeah, I think that this is going to be a real test of whether Democrats have their act together and can come out with wins. I think it's quite possible. Look at these Republicans. Loeffler and Perdue are both of them were implicated in this scam of hearing. They were in this closed door, profiled or classified hearing in, I think, January, maybe early February, about the threat of COVID spreading across the U.S. And both of them then immediately went to their investment team and, moved all their stocks around to make millions and millions of dollars while openly, publicly still denying that COVID was even a threat. This is not just insider trading. That's just like, how can you be allowed in public office if you have, done that? So I think it's not like these two are incredibly popular Republicans. They could be unseated, but Democrats need to actually turn out the base, and they need to treat this as the, really massive test that it is for them. They'll be aided by, I kind of teased at this earlier, but these Republicans are wiling out down there going after. You've got Roger Stone, pardoned by Trump, who now had this like dormant super PAC that he is using to try to get Trump supporters to write in Trump's name, even though on the ballot that is printed in Georgia, there's no space to write in names, but whatever. They're just saying write it in anyway. Against, rather than voting for Loeffler or Perdue, the Republican candidates, in order to send a message saying that they're not doing enough to stand with dear leader Trump in his efforts to do a coup and steal the election. So there's a lot of this, and Roger Stone is not the only one. There's this whole movement of MAGA people trying to influence the Republican election and get them to protest the Republican establishment by either not showing up or voting against Perdue and Loeffler. And I think that, it speaks to this broader poisoning of the well that the Republican Party has done. They already said that both Brian Kemp and the Secretary of State there, the Republican, that they held a fraudulent election. So, why would that make Republicans then want to turn out to vote if they think it's all a fraud in the first place? So, so I think there's plenty of opportunities for Democrats. That said, it's Georgia. It's going to be tough, but there's a chance.
Yeah, it's funny that the way the dynamics are playing out here. We talk so much about the divisions in the Democratic Party with Rahm Emanuel and the Brendan Rileys against the Carlos Ramirez Rosas, that kind of thing. And now we have the divisions within the Republican Party. And I just am shaking my head. You were the one who told me, I did not realize that you told me this, that Roger Stone had been operating like this. I haven't had an opportunity to track it down because I've been on the show. But I've been following that campaign, and the rhetoric out of Purdue and Loeffler, particularly Kelly Loeffler, have been so extreme, MAGA, that it's like, what do they want? What are they supposed to do? I mean, I'm happy. There's a split, and don't get me wrong, and maybe Donald Trump has decided it's in his best political interest not to have a Republican majority in the Senate for whatever reason. I don't know. I think
they're going to use it as a bargaining chip. I mean, the group is called the Committee for American Sovereignty, which is already kind of troubling. Aren't we already sovereign? But they say, quote, if we can do this, meaning write in Trump's name and to get Purdue and Loeffler to lose, we have a real chance at getting these rhino senators, meaning Republicans in name only, to act on the illegitimate and corrupt election presided over by a Democrat party that is invested in the communist takeover of our great nation. So that's the pitch, to vote against the Republicans in
wow,
followed by the MAGA Roger Stone world. So I don't know. It's beyond 12-dimensional chess. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going. It is beyond. Yeah, I just can't figure that one out. But I'll say this again: some really important, serious issues. Putting aside your ideological differences in a Democratic Party, if the state of Illinois, if the city of Chicago, if other states and other cities are going to get assistance from the feds, if the restaurant industry is going to get assistance from the feds, if every single industry that's hanging on by a thread in the middle of this pandemic is going to get assistance from the feds, I think it's pretty obvious the Dems have to win in Georgia, because Mitch McConnell has shown no interest whatsoever, Miles, in having any kind of legitimate negotiation. It's not the Republican Party of even George W. Bush at the end of his administration when we were heading into a recession. So, yeah, I don't know what game of chess they are playing, but if it leads to a Democratic victory in Georgia, I'll take it. I'll take what I can get at this time. All right, before we let you go, I got to get your thoughts on a topic having nothing to do with politics, but one that's near and dear to my heart. And people may not realize this, but Miles Kampf-Lassin's a huge Chicago Bulls fan, bleeds Bulls red. And so Dennis was very critical of the Bulls for drafting Patrick Williams. He said it was the single dumbest move he's ever seen his entire life.
Well, that's fake news.
We had a discussion on this. I just want to see if the doctor was paying attention. But he was mildly critical of it. And so what's your thoughts about the Bulls taking a 19-year-old unheralded freshman from I think I don't even think he was starting on his college team. So what's your thoughts on taking Patrick Williams?
It's a risk. I think that there's the Chicago Bulls as an organization have been understandably and I think deservingly widely mocked, criticized, critiqued for years and years. And it really culminated under the guidance of John Paxson and Gar Forman. And it really culminated this past year with the All-Star game. You remember it was held in Chicago. We didn't have any players. The team was just going through complete meltdown at that time. We can't say it, any nicer than that. And it was a mess. It was embarrassment. It was just like, what is this? This is the NBA team that this city, this storied franchise that, won 6 championships with Michael Jordan in the 1990s. This is what we're, putting forward on the national stage when we're hosting this international event of the All-Star game. Just so sad. So, the fact we moved on in just a matter of a few months from that state of affairs to now having a new general manager, new vice president of basketball operations, whole new kind of front office staff and everything. They haven't coached a single game of basketball. And a new coach, of course, with Billy Donovan. Jimbo is gone, who was widely, rumored to be the single Trump supporting professional basketball coach in the NBA. I don't know if that's true, but that's, that's what the word is. But Jimbo's gone. Jim Boylan is gone. We've got a new coach. A lot of people just want to put faith in the new leadership, Karnasovas, is that
Yes.
decent pronunciation? AK, as I like to call him.
Yeah.
People have a lot of faith. It's kind of a black box what's going on at the Advocate Center right now. It's like, are they, do they have something up their sleeve? Are they going to do some crazy trade or something? We just don't know. There's nothing to go on with this crew. But it will be, as what seems likely, if they keep the current roster set, it'll just be a grand experiment of like how terrible of a coach was Jim Boylan.
Yeah.
Are they going to be that much better with just moving a couple pieces around, but not actually changing the core at all? I'm really interested in why Dennis is so anti Patrick Williams, though. I gotta get, because I just don't know. I don't know enough about him.
Dennis, defend your position.
I'm not so anti Patrick Williams, but it is like you had the number 4 pick and you took a gamble. You know what I mean? Not your average number 4 pick. You know what I mean? But also, you didn't have March Madness. You really don't know a lot about these players, I guess. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe they know something that we don't.
I just think that there's like us not having to deal with the Ball family at all now in Chicago. For me, LaMelo might have been better overall, but Chicago always feels associated, and I'm glad we don't have to deal with any of that crap. So
all right. Well, I put it this way: we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I'm looking forward to basketball to help me get through, my new fire pit to help me get through, and various movies to help me get through. So I welcome the
we're all making it through. And look, this is it. Training camp's just a few weeks away.
Yeah.
We've had a Bears team that's turned out to not be as quite as excellent as we initially maybe hoped. So that crap. So I mean, we got to have something to look forward to. City politics, things aren't going.
City politics. And I always find that entertaining. That'll get me through any pandemic, city politics. All right, Miles Kampf-Lassin from In These Times, thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving to you and your family. I don't know how you're going to be celebrating it. If you're going to be in isolation in a phone booth, the way that Gavin Newsom wants everybody other than himself to be. But I want you to have a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe and sound. We'll talk to you real soon, all right?
Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, to everybody. Always a pleasure to talk to both you and Dr. D, and talk soon.
All right, that's the great Miles Kampf-Lassin.
Go Dolphins, buddy. Go Dolphins. Yeah.
I love the Dolphin sound, man. Only on the Ben Joravsky show, the Dolphin sound.
Yeah,
Miles Kampf-Lassin, what a great guy.
You're not hearing the Dolphin on Al Franken, all right? Just saying.
You got any updates for us, Steve, before we head out that door?
Absolutely. Let's do the back half here. The news broke during today's program. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot's budget has passed in the city council.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
It was the closest budget vote since the 80s. The $1.6 billion property tax levy was approved by a 28-22 vote. And right now, in my face, and thanks to Block Club Chicago, a list of who voted yes and who voted no on the tax levy. Now, I don't know if you knew this or not about our host. Huge Chicago political dork. So as soon as this news broke, who voted yes? Who voted no? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. It just broke.
Oh, God, that's funny. That's not COVID. It's just me laughing.
So I made it a mission during our interview with Miles Kampf-Lassin to find some kind of who voted yes, who voted no list, all right? So, okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, Ben. So this is on voting yes and no on the tax levy. You pick first. What group do you want, yes or no? Team yes or team no?
Team for the tax levy?
Yeah.
Let's go no. There's fewer of them.
All right, team no on the tax levy. Voting no word. And I'm not asking you what ward. First ward, Alderman Daniel LaSpada. Second ward.
Daniel LaSpada. Yeah, Democrat or Socialist. I'm not surprised. Go ahead.
Second ward, Alderman Brian Hopkins.
Okay, this is what the point I was making with Miles, ladies and gentlemen. So Danny LaSpada is against it because it's a series of regressive tax, not nearly progressive. And Hopkins, second ward, that's one of the wealthiest wards in the city. It's stitched together to put all of the undeveloped north side, former industrial sites into one community, one ward, so it could be controlled by an alderman who's very pro-development. This is the guy who pushed through, championed the Lincoln Yards debacle. So he's suddenly become, Hopkins, he's suddenly become an advocate for the beleaguered taxpayers of Chicago, even though he pushed through, can't say this enough, the Lincoln Yards debacle. So there you go, right there in those first two, D, the opposition I was talking about. One guy is a progressive or a socialist who's against the budget because it's too hard on poor people. And the other guy is a Dem, corporate Dem type, who's against it because suddenly he's discovered that people in Chicago are overtaxed. Conveniently discovered this after he slapped the Lincoln Yards tax on him. There you go, D.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. All right, we're going over the list of aldermen who voted no on the tax levy this afternoon on the mayor's budget. Let's see here. So we left off with Brian Hopkins. Next up, 9th Ward Alderman Anthony Beale.
Yeah, Anthony Beale pretty much is against anything that Lori Lightfoot is for. I can't really stitch together like an overall view of government. So he's just doesn't like Lori Lightfoot for whatever reasons, and he's kind of part of that Raylo constituency, and so he's a no vote.
Up next,
Not surprised.
Up next on Team No, 11th Ward Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson.
Wow, now that's a surprise. That, of course, 11th Ward is Bridgeport home to the Daleys. He is Mayor Daley's nephew, and this is interesting. This is how so much has changed in Chicago. The notion that a Daley would vote against a mayoral budget. It's just like a Daley would be for the mayoral budget just because you figure a Daley would be the mayor. So this just goes to show you how politics are shifting. And again, Patrick Daley Thompson's no vote was similar to Hopkins in terms of his explanation. He was against the property tax hike. I believe he was also for the Lincoln Yards TIF. See, the inconsistency. Yeah, guys, if you're suddenly going to become taxpayer advocates, at least appreciate that TIFs are tax hikes. That's what they are, Patrick Daley Thompson. That's what they are, Brian Hopkins. So you have to explain now, going forward, why you're for TIFs if you're against like a property tax to, let's say, meet our obligations for a pension or pay to have the streets repaired or plowed, et cetera, and so forth.
All right, let's keep the list going here. Those who voted no on the tax levy during today's city council meeting. We got, let's see here, 13. Well, we knew this one. 13th Ward Alderman Marty Quinn.
Yes.
No surprise. Well, actually, a big surprise here to me. Yeah.
Big surprise. This shows a change in the attitude of Michael Joseph Madigan toward the mayor of the city of Chicago. Marty Quinn, of course, is the alderman of the 13th Ward, and he is a key lieutenant in Michael Joseph Madigan's political machine. Madigan, the House Speaker. Embattled House Speaker, Madigan, chairman of the Democratic Party in the state of Illinois, embattled chair of the Democratic Party because he's up to his eyebrows in the Commonwealth Edison scandal, which one of his key allies, Michael McCain, has been indicted. In the old days, Michael Joseph Madigan would tell his aldermen, vote for whatever the mayor wants. Now, Marty Quinn's been given a little leeway. It's an indication that Michael Joseph Madigan is perhaps concerned about a voter revolt in his own ward. As I recall, the ward, his own ward, did not go for Kim Foxx in the last election. So the notion that suddenly Marty Quinn is free to vote whatever way he wants and he's voting against the sitting mayor, voting against a tax hike, is a sign that the old alliance in which Madigan ordered his alderman to do whatever the mayor wanted, and in return, the mayor would let Madigan do whatever he wanted in Springfield is over.
All right, we got 15th Ward Alderman Ray Lopez voting no, as well as 16th Ward Alderwoman Stephanie Coleman 19th Ward Alderman Matt O'Shea, and Ben, surprised or not, 14th Ward Alderman Ed Burger King Burke.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised here. It's a completely hypocritical. Ed Burke, as finance chair under Rahm and Daley, pushed through every tax hike that they proposed, every TIF deal that they proposed, every TIF district that they proposed. He was championing Chicago's bid for the Olympics, which would have cost us untold billions of dollars. He was a big proponent of the Amazon deal. So all of a sudden, he too has become a defender of the poor property taxpayer. And it's large part because he can't stand Lori Lightfoot because she used him and the trouble he got into with the feds to propel her candidacy. Remember that? She said, hey, say what you will about me. I'm not affiliated with Ed Burke like Tony Preckwinkle, Susanna Mendoza, Jerry Chico, et cetera, and so forth. So he'll never forgive her. And you know what? She doesn't care because she's the mayor now, and she should be sending him a big box of candy. Thank you, Ed Burke. But I'm not surprised he voted no, but I don't believe for 1 second Ed Burke when he says he's looking out for the property taxpayers of Chicago.
Oh, and I almost forgot that Ed Burke update brought to you by the 14th Ward Burger King. So, okay, more aldermen who voted no. I got Silvana Tabarez, who I don't think we've mentioned once on this program on the 23rd Ward. Byron,
yes, we did. She was a former student of one Mick Dumke.
Oh.
Many years ago, she was a young scholar at Columbia College here in Chicago studying journalism. And her professor, Professor Mick.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
So, yes. Professor Mick. Well, what's the homework today, Professor Mick?
Well, she must have been taking notes because she voted no. Byron Sigcho Lopez also voted no. We got Roberto Maldonado, Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez, Carlos Ramirez Rosa, Anthony Napolitano, Brendan Riley, Tom Tunney, James Gardner, Matt Martin, Harry Osterman, Deborah Silverstein, or Stein, I don't know. And finally, 20th Ward Alderwoman, Jeanette, the real deal Taylor.
Yeah, JT. JT will be on the show in about an hour. Yeah, so as you see, folks, all over the map, like Tommy Tunney of the 44th Ward. What a joke that is. Tom Tunney, whatever Rahm wanted. By the way, there was a funny article. All of a sudden, you see, I don't know, the mayor decided to give the Ricketts some a break on some money they owed.
Yeah, I had this for my story here. You want to get to that, or you want to finish off on the city council?
I'll just finish that. We'll come back to that because Tom Tunney, what a character. So, yeah, suddenly Tom Tunney, another watchdog for their property taxpayers. And Napolitano, another one. I'm looking out for the property tax. Where were you guys for all those TIF deals? Well, God, how come as a property taxpayer I feel so unprotected by all these aldermen who are protecting me? That's why I said, Mayor Lightfoot, I told you this. You didn't listen to me. Make the entire city a TIF district, and Tommy Tunney and Napolitano will vote for it because, well, I don't know how it works. I'm all confused. And Hopkins will vote for it, too.
What are we voting on? Oh, all right.
Who knows?
When's lunch?
They were against a $94 million tax hike, but they were for a $2 billion one. Only in Chicago. Thanks, guys, for looking out for us. Every single one of these people, Beal, Raylo, Burke, Tunney, Osterman, they voted for that TIF. But now they're vigilant, looking out for the taxpayers of Chicago. Thanks for nothing, guys.
Shout out to Ro on the live stream chat. She goes, yeah, but what school did Tunney go to, huh, Ben?
Tommy Tunney is from the southwest side, Ro, and he went to a Catholic school, I think, but I can't remember the name of it. And I should know this. Sorry, Ro, I apologize for not knowing that.
Oh, wow. We're all surprised that you knew that much. Holy cow.
Well, maybe he went to Carl Sandburg High School. He could be from the suburbs. I remember young Tom was from the southwest side of Chicago, and he moved up to the north side, and he was running Ann Sather's And I remember when I first interviewed way back in the 80s, way. Oh, well, actually, no, it was not the 80s. I think it was 90s. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, he was newly moved to the north side from the southwest side of Chicago.
I want a cinnamon roll. All right. Like really bad. All right. So, yeah, go Dolphins. And go Cubs. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Fran Spielman. Mayor Lori Lightfoot and the aforementioned Alderman Tom Tunney are throwing a bone to the billionaire family, because every billionaire needs a bone every now and again. Tom Tunney are throwing a bone to the billionaire family that owns the Cubs after a 60-game season without fans in the stands at Wrigley Field that cost the team more than $100 million. At Tuesday's city council meeting, Lightfoot introduced an ordinance that would amend the 2014 agreement with the Cubs to delay the team's annual $250,000 payment to the Cub Fund until 2024, due in part to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Cub Fund was created in 2014 to bankroll neighborhood infrastructure improvements, including street resurfacing and lighting projects normally funded by $1.32 million a year in aldermanic menu money. That's according to Tunney. The 10-year agreement, originally expected to expire in 2023, called for the Cubs to pay $500,000 in each of the first 5 years and $250,000 in years 6 through 10. Let's see here. We have a quote from Tunney, and Ben, you take it from here. Tunney says, quote, I don't question. First he said, quote, go to Aunt Sathers. Okay, and then the other quote. The other quote, I don't question whether or not they were capable of making the payment. What we felt was that the Cubs were not playing before fans this year, and we would just postpone or defer this 1-year payment. They need to pay. We're just extending the agreement 1 additional year. Businesses are bleeding. Look at everything else we're doing to try to mitigate the business losses. This is a small gesture to let them know that we know that the season has been a financial loss and the neighborhood has been a financial loss. So
I don't get this at all on any level.
Same
I mean, just start off with that quote. If you don't know whether they need the break, why are you giving them the break? There's a lot of people who need help right now, legitimately need help in Chicago. Like you always say you're looking out for the restaurant people. How about all those people who work in restaurants that have lost their job? You know? How about them? How about giving the $250,000 to them? Why are you giving it to the Ricketts? They don't need, you just got finished saying, I don't even know if they need help. So why are you giving them help if you don't know? Makes no freaking sense, Tommy. And the Ricketts, it's not just like, like a name without meaning. The Ricketts family is totally in bed with Donald Trump, raising money for Donald Trump. They got the one Ricketts family member, like is a Democrat. They go, well, we got her there. No, but forget her, guys. Because I'm still looking at the Ricketts who are raising money for Trump and supported Trump. And Daddy Ricketts, a huge supporter of Donald Trump these days. Didn't start that way, but he got there. And a huge opponent of Barack Obama. So I'm thinking of where the Ricketts are politically. And Donald Trump has been useless, as have the Ricketts, in the larger struggle to get the feds to help industries in Chicago, like the restaurant industry, which is on the ropes. So why would you be rewarding them? You don't even know if they need the money. And politically, they've been adversaries to you. So why are you doing this? I just don't get Dems. The mixed messages that they just emanate all the time. Oh, we don't want to fight with Republicans. We want to get along with the Republicans. We started the show by talking about Dianne Feinstein hugging Lindsey Graham. Now Tommy Tunney is hugging the Ricketts family, metaphorically speaking. And Lori's part of that group hug too. And it was so bizarre because if you know anything about 44th Ward politics, the Ricketts hate Tom Tunney, or hated. They fought him. They were against him in the last aldermanic election. I would argue that the only reason Tom Tunney was victorious in the last aldermanic election without a runoff was because the Ricketts were against him. Why do I say that? Because I think Even Cub fans, not the brightest bunch in the world, even Cub fans can't stand the Ricketts. And so, like, the best ally Tom Tunney had were his opponents, if you follow that. Ooh, that's kind of, whoa, trippy. His allies were his opponents. Yeah. So, like, the Ricketts were against him. Therefore, people in the 44th Ward, here's the classic Chicago voter. Well, he must be doing something right, Ben, if the Ricketts are against him. Oh, Chicago voters. So, yeah, I don't know why Tom Tunney is coming to the aid of the Ricketts. Unless, like, it's a, whoa, this idea just popped in my head.
And Ann Sather's opening up in Wrigley Field?
No, it's like a roundabout payback. Hey, guys, here's your payback for opposing me in the last election, because I realized without your opposition, I wouldn't have won. Whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't get this. People are really hurting. So here's Lori Lightfoot and Tom Tunney's idea. I know. We'll give it a little assistance to billionaires. That'll help. Yeah, like they need the help. I think they can outwait the pandemic and they'll be okay. Just saying, Tom Tunney and Lori Lightfoot. I think the Ricketts will be okay. Just think they'll be okay. I think the other people in Chicago you got to worry about other than the Ricketts. It's because someone's going to have to pay for those street repairs, D. But now they're not the Ricketts. Whew, they're off the hook.
Oh, I apologize. One more quote from Tom Tunney. Now, who wants pancakes?
That's correct.
By the way, I really do love the pancakes in there. I haven't been over there in a while, but those little pancakes, you used to eat a lot of them, D. Yeah.
Hey, remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows, Benny J bonus interviews, and so much more at the Chicago Reader website, chicagoreader.com/Joravsky. Hey, Ben, spell that last name for him.
Jora, V as in victory, as my beloved Chicago Bulls will do this year, SKY.
Nice work, buddy. Nice work. You can find us there, chicagoreader.com/Joravsky, and wherever else you download podcasts. All right. We have our part 2 coming up tonight. We're going to be speaking with Pat Whalen, I believe. Isn't that right, Ben?
Well, we will be speaking with Pat Whalen. We'll be speaking with JT, Jeanette Taylor, and there will be programming decisions made after the show as the assemblage, the crew that puts together this magnificent podcast will gather together to figure when one will drop and when the other will drop. And I'm really looking forward to that meeting. Dennis always serves donuts at these meetings. So we're going to have donuts and...
So be on the lookout.
Chicken.
Be on the lookout for future downloads. You know, we're just a wild bunch here at the Ben Joravsky Show. And also at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, BennyJShow@gmail.com, 708-658-4788. Call us, leave us a voicemail.
All right. I want to thank Miles Kampf-Lassin, the pride and joy of Whitney Young High School, and in these times, outstanding job as he always does. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois, without whom the show would be possible, the man that Miles calls Dr. D. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everyone.
That's correct.
This little light of mine. This little light of mine.
That's correct.
This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine.